Hello everyone, my name is Yusuf Suwaya. I am the lead software engineer for the Slack animation project for one of the groups at MIT Seed. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through all the steps of the Slack animation project. First, just a little bit of background on what the project is. It takes its name from the Slack app, which is a messaging app for for the workspace that we used extensively during the seed fall semester. And so we borrowed that name, and it really reflects what the project is all about. Because what a project is that a essentially a turtle will be asking various questions to learn what you would like the turtle to draw. And so you would fill in, you would answer all the questions, and you can just Slack as you watch it do the shape or drawing that you wanted to draw. Um, so I guess we can start at line number 1. So it says import turtle as Leonardo. And what this is, it's importing the turtle module, which is a pre-installed Python module, as Leonardo. So that means that the turtle module is being turned into a global variable. Now, a global variable is a variable that can be accessed from anywhere in the program. The opposite of a global variable would be the local variable. And what a local variable is, for example, instead of doing import turtle as Leonardo, we can remove that and say Leonardo equals turtle dot turtle. But the problem with that is that you would have to copy this statement and put it into every single function for whatever shape you're doing. So for example, the define circle, before we ask the color question, we would have to redo the Leonardo equals turtle because it has not memorized what Leonardo is. So putting it as a global variable means that it can be accessed from anywhere in the program. Next, this is just kind of a subjective thing. So when I was testing this out, I saw that the shape was very small. So I decided to change the drawing area a little bit and make it a little bit bigger so that you can see a much more of the program. Another variable that we have is the color variable, which has various colors, not a lot, but it has 18 colors. And remember that number 18 because that's going to come up later in another form. So we have all these colors like red, maroon, orange, etc., etc. The shapes that are possible to be drawn. So with the limited time that we had to work on the project, my group just decided to go with 6 shapes, 3 basic or what we call basic shapes, which are just simple shapes that do not need a lot of coding. So for example, circle, basic, which is any other shape, so like a triangle, a square, etc. A snake, which is just a bunch of a couple of lines, and then the complex shapes, which need a lot more coding and a lot more complicated for the turtle to draw, such as the spiral code, the stick figure, and the house. So this is once again setting up the Leonardo turtle. So Leonardo.turtle makes it learn that Leonardo is the turtle that will be used. This is also another subjective thing that that is not required to be added, but you can make Leonardo into many different shapes. So for example, because this is a turtle-based program, we decided to give it the shape of a turtle. So a turtle will be drawing this, all the things that you will be seeing in the program. Now this is where it gets a lot more interesting with all the different kinds of, and this is where the program really starts to take form. So we have like a introduction, which it just says, hello, my name is Leonardo. I will be your artist today. Please answer these questions. Otherwise, there will be consequences. Thanks. And he also says, also, fun fact, I like turtles, which that's a meme. Next up, we have the first variable that we introduced. So shape is the variable, and then this equal sign means that the variable is equal to this. str is an abbreviation for string, which is one of the 4 data types in Python. So you have string, integer, floats, which are decimals, and booleans, which are just true or false, yes or no. So this means that this can only accept strings. And inputs are input statements, which means that it allows the user that's using the program to answer a question, and that will then determine what the project will do. So input, and it states first things first, what shape do you want me to draw? Which are the 6 shapes that I mentioned earlier. So I guess let's start with the first shape, which is the circle. So let's run it. So first things first, what shape do you want me to draw? A circle. So after you write in circle, it's going to understand that you want to draw a circle, which if we go down here, there's an if statement. And if statements are like conditional statements, which mean that if this is true, then fulfill this, I guess, command. So if the shape that you wrote, so if the variable shape is equal to circle, which means that if you wrote in circle as an answer to the question, it will fulfill the function known as circle. So here from lines 19 to 33, we define what the function circle is. So the first line is color, which is another variable that only accepts a string. And it says, I have an enormous color palette. Please choose the color of your design, which this brings in all this list of colors that we made previously. So for example, if I want to make a green circle, or let's say red circle, and then what do you want as a fill color? Now this is also not mandatory. You can just say I want a white fill color, which will just basically no longer make this statement valid, and will basically just draw a circle without filling it in. But you can also, if you want, you can decide to fill in the circle. So for example, we can say fill it in as a green color. And then what's the length of each side of your shape? So in the case of a circle, that would basically mean what is the radius of the circle. So we can just say, because we don't want to make it too big, and for some reason 5 units is too big and you're not going to be able to see the whole circle, let's just put it at, or cap it at 3. And then how much should I turn at any given moment? So this is the angles, which it doesn't really matter what angle you put this at. So for example, let's just say 1 angle. And then it says drawing begins. So it's going to draw the whole circle. Apologies for this kind of like skip, but it's going to end up getting filled up after the shape gets filled. There we go. So ignore the ratings for a second. So let's backtrack a little and go back to the actual program itself. So we set up the pen color for the turtle Leonardo, and it just says color. So whatever was the answer to this input statement, which ended up becoming the answer to the variable or the solution to the variable, becomes an argument. And then here, Leonardo.fill color is the answer to this input statement for what fill color you want. And then once again, if the shape is equal to circle, it will ask you what length you want it. So the length of the radius of the circle, and then turn. So the angle, every time that the turtle has to turn, how much should the angle be? And then it will say print drawing begins. So it's going to signify that you have answered all the questions, and it will begin to draw. And then behind the scenes, what's happening is Leonardo.begin fill, which basically means that begin the process of filling. And this will continue until you say Leonardo.end fill. And also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but Leonardo doesn't have to be the name that you pick for your turtle. You can name it anything. So for example, we can just name it Bob. But for the sake of this example, it's not going to accept that because we would have to change every other instance of Leonardo to Bob. But after you say Leonardo.begin fill, you say for I, or this can be any letters like X or Y, but for I in range, integer 360 divided by the turn. So this means that for however many times you said turn, that means that it will repeat the same thing. So since we said turn 1 degree every time you have to turn, it's going to do 360 times and keep repeating this over and over again. This is what's called a for loop. So it means that for as long as I is in the range of 360, which is just a fancy way of saying for 360 steps or for 360 rotations, I guess, it will need to fill these requirements. So it's going to go forward a certain length, which is the radius, and it's going to turn right a certain angle, which is the turn variable. And then after it has done that for the amount of times that you want it, it's going to do Leonardo.endFill, and that is when it's going to actually fill in this circle that you made. And then at the end, just kind of as like a fun interactive thing, we made drawing complete. Please give a rating below and thank you for playing. So let's say, for example, I want to give it a rating of 10. It's going to say this belongs in a museum, which is a reference to an Indiana Jones scene. So next up, let's hide this circle function and move on to the basic function. So let's run it again. And this time we have basic. So just write in basic. And once again, it's going to ask for different colors. So just say red and then maybe teal, let's say. And then what's the length of each side of your shape? So again, the length. So for this situation, you can pick anything really. So let's just say pick 10. And then how many sides does your shape have? So this is kind of like a new thing from the defined circle. And what the sides function or what the sides variable is it determines what shape you're trying to draw, because we wanted to make it so that this one function can draw all the known geometric shapes, except for circle, because circle has its own function. So how many sides do we want it to draw? Let's say we want to draw a triangle. So say 3 sides. And that's a little bit too small, my apologies. Let's do that again. So basic, red, teal, 100, let's say. Sides 3, and then there's our triangle. So I guess just kind of to prove that this can really draw any shape that you wanted, let's run it again. Say basic. This time let's go another color like maroon, for example. Fill in with gold. And then let's get a 12-sided shape, which I think, oh wait, my bad. Okay, there we go. So I think that's called a dodecagon, I think, the 12-sided shape, right here. So yeah, that's what the basic function does. So let's give it a rating. This time I think, let's just say because it's way too small, I didn't want it to be this small, I'm going to take off 3 points, so give it a 7. So it's going to say A for effort, so kind of like giving itself some encouragement. So let's hide the basic function. Then we have the snake function, which a difference between this and the previous two is that it only has the color variable installed. And the reason for that is because the way that it was set up, whatever fill color you decide, it's going to have like a weird triangles on either side of the snake. So I just decided to still give it the fill color, but always have it permanently be the color white, so that it just looks like it just drew a snake like with pencil without coloring it in. So let's say we wanted to draw a snake, and then green, because that's what a snake is. And then say size 100 again. So it's kind of a fun tidbit again. It's gonna say snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Which is a reference again to Indiana Jones. And then it's gonna say drawing begins. So once it says drawing begins, it's gonna begin the filling process. And then, of course, we could have done a for loop, but then it would have had this kind of like outside thing. So you can't, at least I'm not aware that you're able to do it 2.5 times. So instead of just making it for I in some range, we just decided to go with 5 lines of pretty similar code. So it's going to go forwards length, and then it's going to turn right 90 degrees. So again, another difference is that it doesn't have the turn variable to fill in. Then we have what I personally think is my favorite design, which is the spiral. So this is the first of the complex shapes that we have. So we wanted to draw a spiral. So what differentiates the color variable in this example versus the previous 3 examples is that this will only decide what's the first color that it will be coloring with, because it's going to keep looping around all the different colors that are set into the color list over here at the top. So let's say we wanted to do, say, royal blue. The length, let's just say, have it at 20. And then it's going to begin the drawing. So it's pretty fast. And that's because I set up the, so for I in range 200, because otherwise it's either going to be too short, like in this scenario, it's a little bit short, and I wanted it to fill in the whole space, or we're going to end up making it too big. So we thought that 200 should be a good amount. So Leonardo.speed basically sets how fast it's going to be moving. So before this, I believe the just default speed is like probably speed 1. So here it's going 200 times its normal speed, which is how it was able to do all this. So if we just remove this, it's going to take much, much longer for it to do the whole loop. So then pen size, which I forgot to mention up here as well. So pen size, because we're having difficulties being able to put in the fill color, we just decided to make the actual pen look much thicker, and then that way it gives the illusion that it's been filling it the whole time. So with pen size 20, and the same thing goes with this to make it a lot thicker for the snake. So pen size, and then it's going to be doing a circle for a bunch of times. So it's going to go the length that you set it to, and then plus I. So it's going to put like a bit of a separation between all the different layers of the spiral. And then it's going to be turning 45 degrees every time. And then down here, if you remember at the beginning, I said, remember that we had 18 shapes, or 18 colors, sorry. So here at the bottom, we have Leonardo.pen color, and then the square brackets, I%17. So this percent symbol is the modulo. And this is what so if this was just like a normal computational thing, so for example, we do 2% 5, that would just return the remainder of dividing 2 by 5. But in this scenario, the way we used it, it's going to be looping around all the shapes. So every time it does the 20, or yeah, we set it. So every time it does the length, it's going to change the color. And the reason that it's I modulo 17 is because the way indexes work in Python. So instead of going So red would be 1, maroon is 2, 3, 4. It starts at 0. So then you would go 0, 1, 2. So when you're counting them up, if you were to do this at home, you would just count up all the colors that you have and then subtract 1 to make space for the 0th index. And then it would end the fill and then print drawn complete. Please give a rating below. So let's say I'm super impressed. Like instead of a 10 out of 10, it gets a 12 out of 10. So it says all the ratings belong to me again. Another popular meme. So remove the spiral. And then next up, we have the first kind of multi-function like shape. And that is the stick figure shape. So let me just extend all 5 functions. So let's run it again. So first thing, we wanted to do a stick figure. So every time that it does another body part, it's going to ask for another color. Now, don't bother with like the order of these. So it goes torso, legs, arms, and then head. But what matters is when you do define stick figure. This is what it's following. So once you do define stick figure, it's going to say if the shape is the stick figure, it's going to print drawing begins, and then it's going to follow this order that you set. So it's going to go head, and then torso, and then arms, and then legs. So when it's asking, please choose a color, it's asking you to choose a color for the head. So let's say, for example, I want to draw maybe Simpson. So let's say go yellow. So it's going to draw a yellow circle. And then pick another color for the torso. So let's say we want a white shirt. So click type in white. And it's going to like kind of be a little bit transparent because it's like a white background over a white line, or a white line over a white background. And then the arms, let's say give it blue. And then the legs, say like black pants. So that's kind of the stick figure. I wish you could zoom in, but it's right there. So like the head, the arms, the legs, and then the body, which is transparent with the background. So give a rating out of 10. Let's say like I'm not impressed with this whatsoever. So just give it like 3 out of 10. It's gonna say, why so serious? Which is a reference to the Dark Knight. So let's hide that again. Let's hide all these. And then move on to the final shape, which is the house, which is once again divided into multiple functions. There we go. So run it again. We wanted to draw a house. So it's immediately going to begin because every function is going to ask for another color. So for example, the outer lines of my house are, let's say, black, and then I want to fill it in white, or because that's going to be transparent, or yeah, let's say something like purple, for example. So it's going to draw a purple box, which is the base of the house. And then it will ask for another set of colors. So this time, say black and magenta. I hope I wrote that correctly. Yeah, I did. And then this is another unique function because it is not a requirement. So what it's basically doing is setting up the variable, and then it's asking, would you like me to draw a door and a pair of windows? Please write yes or no. So this is an example of a Boolean, which is true or false, yes or no. And this is another example of conditions. So if, say, we write yes, it is going to draw in the windows. But if we redo the whole process again, so house, just say red, black, and then orange, magenta. And then, so if we say, I don't want extra highlights, it's gonna automatically skip this whole process and go all the way down here where we have the else. So it's saying if if you do not want door and window, so if you write no, it's gonna print out, it's gonna skip this whole thing and then just print out drawing complete. So that does it for all the different shapes. Now I'm just gonna briefly run through the rating system that we set up. So here's the calling system. So if the shape that you picked is, for example, circle, it's gonna run the circle function. If you pick basic, it's gonna run the basic function. If you pick snake, it's gonna run the snake function. If you pick spiral, it's gonna run the spiral function. If you pick stick figure, it's gonna run the stick figure function, which includes 4 other functions. And then if you pick the house function, it's going to draw the 3 or fulfill the 3 functions within the house function. So then we have the rating, which is its own variable. And this is the first time we're actually using a float, which a float, as I said previously, is a decimal. So this accepts decimals, and it says down here, decimals allowed. So please give a rating out of 10, decimals allowed. And the reason I made decimals allowed is if, say, you want to give it like a 7.5, you can write 7.5. And for all the different ratings that I set up here, it's going to have like a different like quip, which is some sort of pop culture reference. So for example, if you gave it a rating over 10, it's going to say all the ratings belong to me. So every rating imaginable belongs to the turtle. However, if you say you give it a 5.0 or less rating, so this is greater than, less than. So just like in normal mathematics, the greater than and the less than, which are called operators, them along with the equal sign, and also this symbol, which means not equal to. So if you say less than, if you give it a rating less than 5.0, it's going to say why so serious, which is a Dark Knight film reference. And then here we have, I guess it's called like a double conditional. So if the rating is greater than or equal to 5.0 and it's less than or equal to 8.0, it's going to say A for effort. But if the rating is greater than 8.0 and less than a 10, it's going to say this belongs in a museum, Indiana Jones reference. So that all does it for this project. I hope you guys